I went back home, made more mandazis, and the following day when I went to the market, rumor had already spread that there's a boy making sweet mandazis in our area. Please go try his mandazis. I decided to make bajia and chips. I did this business for a while. By the time I was supposed to be going to school to join campus, I had saved an amount of 10,000. What's up, good people? Welcome back to another episode of my video that I have been talking about my hustles. And the intention behind me talking about my hustles is just to encourage somebody with my story that no condition is permanent and that there is a God in heaven who watches and who listens to everybody. We all have a purpose. We all have a reason why we were brought to this earth. And it shall be very kind of you to realize your purpose in this life before you leave it. Leave something positive that people shall say about you. That if it were not for Devance, if it were not for Njoroge, if it were not for Maureen, this world would not have been this way. Impact people's lives. I'm starting this video today with the same question that I started in our previous episode of my hustles. Are you what you wanted to be in life? And from our previous video, we stopped at a point where I had now joined campus. Though I was late to report, I missed a hostel in school and therefore I had to go look for a hostel outside school. With me, I had about 10,000 that I had already saved cash at hand from my business that I was doing before joining campus, which was making mandazis and bajias. It was a good business that I did for 2 months and I made that amount of money. What if I was supposed to continue doing the business till date? I will now be driving those big cars, those big cars, fuel guzzlers, the ones Akote drives, you know? That will be my league. Yes, but anyway, it's never too late. So here I am, I've joined campus, I was late to report, I have to go look for a home where to stay. And the cheapest house I could find was one that I could pay a monthly fee of 4,000. But now because I was a student and the place where I found my house was particularly built for students and those were student hostels, I had to pay 4 months for that semester. So I didn't have a problem paying for the first semester because I had cash, I had money. So I paid 16,000 for my house bills. Then I had to pay for electricity and also for water services. And then I also had to pay for food because eating in campus was expensive. When you calculated the amount of money that you'll spend on breakfast in school, in the campus, and then you'll also spend for lunch, and also dinner or supper, it was expensive because they made sure they served you little food so that you'll continue spending your money to buy more and more food. Who will do that? In campus, we are all looking for ways to save. My first day in campus, we were welcomed well. For the first 1 week, we were having our orientation in the main campus. It was not so far. It will take me 50 bob from where I used to stay on a motorbike to the main campus. So on one way, it's 50 and back 50. Sometimes when we were broke, we would just walk. So it was becoming expensive. Food was also expensive because they know people selling food, they knew these are students. Of course, they had to buy food at the end of the day. So they raised commodities. Food commodities were expensive. The tomatoes, be it sukuma wiki, unga ya ugali, things were expensive. So life was becoming difficult. You had to find an alternative. I knew people were happy that I joined the campus, and I knew if I just made a phone call to my sister or to my mother or to some of my relatives, they would help me. But that was different. Dude, when you become an adult, every responsibility becomes your own. You are no longer anybody else's responsibility. Everybody kept on complaining that they didn't have money. So I had to find an alternative. And what was the next alternative? I had to come up with a business idea. The next business idea that I came up with was a cleaning agency. And talking about the cleaning agency, this is a list of some of the things I used to do while I was in campus. I started a Devance cleaning agency. I used to clean people's houses. I used to clean people's, there are those rich kids that, they had everything in their houses. It's just a small house, but they had a bed, they had chairs, tables, but they will add more other things. Comfortable chairs, fridges, and they would live well. But in campus, we had different kinds of students. There are those people whom their parents were able to pay their school fees, they had it all. So they were rich. They were too rich that they could not even afford to wash their own clothes. They could not afford to clean their own houses. So they needed people to do this for them. Yes, some were also just born in rich families. They didn't know how to wash or they didn't know how to clean. So this is where I would come in. I had a group of a few friends. We would walk in houses where we would clean houses. We would clean under the beds, under the chairs. We will dust every place. And by the moment we leave that house is sparkling clean. And we would go back home smiling because our pockets will be loaded with the money. That is why we used to clean, and we did it for some time. It wasn't easy doing this business while we were in campus because some of our classes, the timetables were irregular. Most of our lessons started at 7 a.m. in the morning to 9 a.m. and then maybe the next class will pick up from 11 maybe to 2 p.m. and then a third class that will come in the evening. Actually, by 4, 5, sometimes we were still in school. Sometimes the timetable didn't favor us to do our businesses, especially now that we were first years and we had to be in class. From the orientation, we were told if you miss a given number of classes, you won't be allowed to sit for the main class, or you won't be allowed to do the main exams, or maybe these cards and maybe the random tests that some teachers normally loved bringing, which at the end of the semester would be added to determine whether you will successfully pass and qualify to go to the next class, or you will fail and do a retake on the subjects that you had failed, or on the units. In campus, we call them units, not subjects. So it will determine whether your marks in the units that you did will qualify you to go to the next class. So you had to work very hard in school. But then you needed money to do research. Being a student who was studying journalism, I really loved journalism so much, and I wanted to be an investigative journalist. I think maybe I am, who knows? The Edgar Obare that we have today, that is who I wanted to be. So I really needed money for movement, money for food and upkeep, money to go do research in the cybers and internet, because I didn't have a smartphone, or I didn't have a computer to access internet. So I had to use cybers, and cybers were expensive by then. I had to work hard, and I really worked hard. Sometimes I had to miss even classes, and I thank God for my friend Simon, who used to sign for me attendance sheet when I was absent, because I never wanted to be absent. Nobody wanted to be absent. So anytime you knew you were going to be absent, you had to have a representative in school who will do what? Do the signing for you to show that you were in class. The class attendance sheet. You always had to sign. If you didn't sign it, maybe you missed signing it 3 times in a semester, my friend, you are not lucky. Sometimes you'd miss doing some of these exams. So you really had to be in school every day. It was difficult. So knowing I don't have any external support, well, I had a few friends. Sometimes my neighbors or friends that I used to stay with, we used to contribute and share rent, and what have you, many things. We used to share bills to buy food. I remember I developed good neighbors who within a short time we became good friends. We used to share money to buy food, to do very many other things, to pay other bills like electricity, water bills. We became friends. We were a group of 5 people. I wish I could mention your name, but I don't know how much comfortable they are when I mention their names here, because some people know them. It's a true story. I'm not coming up with stories. I'm sure they will comment under this video to assure to or to affirm that whatever I am saying is true. So my cleaning business sometimes wasn't bringing much money, because sometimes we'll go for a week or even 2 weeks without getting a business. I made these cards, and these cards, or these papers, which I used to call cards, I would distribute them to students in their hostels. I will distribute them and everybody would have them. So anybody who needed my service will just give me a phone call, because my number is clearly indicated there, and I would go clean their houses. But for how long? These services, we offered them to people whenever they had money. That was in the first months of every semester. People usually have money. But as the semesters go by, people go broke. So you rarely receive these offers. Therefore, I had to think of an alternative. I decided to go clean clubs and bars. In every town there are clubs. And then money for cleaning these clubs or bars were not much, because sometimes you'd clean these clubs only to be paid 100 bob, sometimes 50 bob. Sometimes you'd go and you'll find some people had already gone earlier before you. So definitely you'll be unlucky. You won't get a chance to do what? To clean. So that day, it will be a bad day for you. Day after day, life was never easy. Raising money was difficult. You had to be in school, you had to raise money. It was difficult until I couldn't bear it anymore. The first mistake I remember I did was giving up. I think I gave up my education because I couldn't manage to raise money to support myself in school. That was the worst decision I ever made in my life. Well, I used to regret it, but for now, I don't regret it, because I console myself by saying everything happens for a reason. I had already left school because nobody was willing to support me in school. Sometimes you'd call your relatives to help you, but everybody will have an excuse. What next did I have to do? I dropped out of school. And after dropping out of school, I couldn't afford to pay my rent in school. I couldn't afford to do many things. I had to drop out and think of an alternative. That is when I had thoughts to go to where? Nairobi, to make ends meet. Nairobi, I didn't know anybody apart from the friends that I met in Facebook. Yes, I was in Facebook. I loved social media. Being a journalism student, what did you expect? I was so much into social media, and I made friends with people in Facebook, and I asked a friend of mine, "Hello friend, I'm coming to Nairobi. I really need a place. Can you host me?" In my line of chatting, we're making friends with people in Facebook. By then, I only knew how to use Facebook. By then, I didn't know how to use Instagram or Twitter or what have you. I only knew Facebook. So I made friends. I told one of my friends, that I'm coming to Nairobi, but I need you to host me at your place as I look for a way forward to get a job and maybe ways of survival. That friend of mine quickly agreed. So I packed my things and went to Nairobi. He welcomed me to his place, where I stayed for about a month before we started developing some issues. Staying with people wasn't easy. It's never easy. My whole life I've been staying with people, so I understand what it means to stay with people. It is not easy, because every house you walk into, people have different rules, people have different demands, and sometimes following them is not easy. I had to move out and quickly moved to another friend's house. And also in this friend's house, after staying for only a week, he was already complaining that I'm a burden. So I had to look for an alternative. What was the alternative? I walked out of that house and went to look for a job. Initially, I was looking for a better job. And when I say better job, I meant jobs that will suit me. You see, I was considering that, God created me with the looks. I'm so handsome. I do not need any job that, I needed a job that will favor my beauty. That is what I was looking for before. So I needed a job like working as a customer care, or as a receptionist, or maybe as a shopkeeper, some good job. Not jobs that will involve cleaning or will involve me getting dirty. I didn't want that. But then life in Nairobi was becoming difficult. Staying with people was becoming difficult. I had to look for solutions. So the only option I had left was to go and look for those jobs that I didn't want to do. Good. I went to a butcher, and through another friend of mine, he connected me to some people who are looking for somebody to work for them in a butcher, and I got the job. And the job that I was supposed to be doing in this particular butcher was selling meat. Goat meat, to be precise. Goat meat is expensive and very sweet. It's so tasty. So this job involved selling goat meat around clubs and pubs. Because where we were situated, the neighboring businesses were clubs and pubs. Those were supposed to be our clients, the people coming to drink in those pubs and clubs. It was good business, I must say. I quickly learned the business. As I told you before, I am talented, and everything that I hold or every job that I intend to do, I mastered the job skills so quick and really quickly adapt to the environment. And I was selling. I used to make good meats. Sometimes clients would come at you, I need a quarter kg and I need it dry calf, cook it for me. So I would cut the meat, cook it according to how they wanted it. Some wanted it dry fry, some wanted wet fry, some wanted it combined with chips, or some wanted it combined with cabbage and many other spices. Some also didn't want it with spices, some wanted it nyama choma. So I used to make all this. At the end of the day, I was paid 300 Kenyan shillings. That is equivalent to $3. That was not bad money comparing to where I used to stay, where sometimes I would walk to work. And time for coming back, I used to use a motorcycle ride because it was interior parts of Nairobi. This part called Kahawa Wendani. I used to stay in Kahawa Wendani. Kahawa Wendani, and I must say I was really grateful. My time staying there with the people I stayed with, thank you so much, because they really shaped my life. I stayed there for some time, and I made sure when I was staying there, I always made friends with people. My relationship with people was good. I made sure that I never made enemies with people, and the least thing I ever wanted to do was to make anybody sad. Do you understand me? So during my stay in Kahawa Wendani, I used to make 300 shillings per day, where in the morning I would walk to work, because I was supposed to report at work at 11 a.m. in the morning and leave work at 11 p.m. in the night. I couldn't walk back to the house because it was not safe. So I used to use a piki or a motorbike. Motorbike would charge me 70 bob. So you understand, out of the 300 bob, I would save the money that I had. But sometimes I had to get to the house where I used to stay with a friend of mine. I used to buy food also. I had to buy food. I also had to chip in paying other bills. Okay, well, he didn't ask me to pay for rent. He used to pay for the rent. Because out of the 300 bob, I needed to buy credit. I needed sometimes to buy food, to do shopping, and what have you. Some bills like electricity, those were not supposed to be his. Those, I feel like those are small bills I would pay as a way of saying thank you. And then out of this 300 shillings that I used to earn, and out of the savings that I used to get from this 300 bob, I saved enough to help me start another business. And when I say another business, I say music business. Ever since childhood, I was talented. My talent was singing. I loved singing. I loved songwriting, and I was inspired by the late gospel artist Angela Chibalonza. I wanted to be a singer, but by the time I was ready to start my recording, I had not settled whether I wanted to be a gospel artist or a secular artist. I said, whatever kind of music that will bring money at the end of the day, that is the one that I am going to go for. So be it gospel and it will make money, I will go for it. By then we had Willie Paul, we had Bahati. They'd already joined the gospel music and they were doing good. We used to listen to their music. By then it was Sitolia by Willie Paul, which was doing very well in the airwaves. So I said, now that Willie Paul is young like me, and Bahati is also young like me, and they're doing gospel music, why don't I just go to gospel music, do my music recording, and start selling my music and make money? Because I felt being a musician was making good money. So I entered into music business as a gospel artist, where I recorded my first song, Yesu Yesu. Nitazidi kukupenda baba milele na milele, nakupenda was very interesting. In the next video, I am going to share with you what happened next. Did this music business generate profits? Did I continue working in the butcher? And what was my life after doing my production? Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you like this video. Liking this video actually supports my YouTube channel. Make sure you comment. Let me know what you think. What is your opinion? What are some of the kind of businesses that you've ventured in or you think of doing? And just to answer our main question, are you what you wanted to be in life? Until next time, this is Devance Empire. Hope to see you again. God bless you so much. End of discussion.